I worked the overnight shift at a gas station off a rural highway. I was 22. Midnight to 6 a.m., completely alone. Most nights, the only sound in the store was an old radio behind the counter, always tuned to some local station, quietly filling the silence. I didn't think much about it. The radio cuts out until 2:30 a.m. one Tuesday when the music just stopped. Not static, not dead air. Breathing, slow, deliberate, coming through the speakers like someone had left a microphone open. Turn around. Then the voice came, low, male, unhurried. Turn around. My stomach turned to ice. I turned. The aisles were empty. The store was empty. Doors still locked. Cameras showing nothing. I walked every inch of that building. Nothing. And by the time I got back behind the counter, the music had started up again. Same station, same cheerful nonsense, like nothing had happened. The next night, I was watching the clock. 2:27, 2:28, 2:20, 9. At 2:30, the music cut out. Someone is outside. The breathing started immediately this time, and then the voice, quieter than before, almost like it was trying not to wake someone. Someone is outside. My eyes moved slowly to the window. Pump number 3. There was a man standing next to it, not getting gas, not looking at his phone, not moving at all, just standing there, facing me. He's been there for 10 minutes. Then the radio spoke again. He's been there for 10 minutes. 10 minutes. Before I ever noticed him, before I ever looked up. That's when he started walking toward the store. Slow, even steps, never breaking eye contact. The man enters, the door chimed. He stood in the entrance, eyes scanning the store, taking inventory of something. Then he walked to the counter, set a drink down. His face was completely calm. Pretty quiet tonight. Something in his voice made every hair on my body stand up, because it was the same voice, the same flat, even cadence, the same deliberate pause words. The whisper at the door, I rang up the drink, hands I could barely feel. He picked it up, started toward the door, then stopped. He leaned back toward me, close enough that I could smell the cold night air on his jacket. Good thing you turned around when I told you to. And then he was gone. I watched his car pull out onto the highway and disappear into the dark. I quit before sunrise. But here's the part I still can't explain. When I told my manager what happened, he walked over to the old radio and turned it around to show me the back. The power cable had been cut, frayed at both ends. He said it had been like that for months. That radio had no power source, no signal, no reason to make any sound at all. I've never worked a night shift again. The creepiest job I ever had was working the night shift in a completely empty hospital. But the part that still bothers me, the part I can't explain, is that the security cameras sometimes showed people who weren't actually there. The building was massive, 5 floors, hundreds of empty rooms. My job was simple enough: sit in the security office and watch the monitors. One night, around 1 a.m., I saw movement on camera 12, a man walking down a hallway on the 3rd floor. At first, I figured it was just a trespasser, but something felt off. He wasn't looking at the doors or the rooms. He was just walking forward. And the way he moved, it didn't look human. It was like he was limping with both legs at the same time. I grabbed my flashlight and headed upstairs. When I got to the hallway, it was empty, completely empty. I figured I must have missed him, so I went back down to the office. I looked at the monitor, and my heart dropped. He was still there, still walking, but now he was much closer to the camera. That didn't make any sense, because I had just been standing in that exact spot. I watched as he got closer and closer until he stopped, right in front of the lens. And then he looked straight into it. His face was pale, and his eyes, they were completely black. The screen went to static. Later, I decided to check the recording from earlier that night, and that's when I saw it. When I had walked through that same hallway with my flashlight, he was there, about 10 feet behind me. The entire time, just following me. There's a specific kind of silence you only find in a high school after midnight. It's not empty, it's just waiting. I spent 3 years as a night janitor at a massive district school, and I actually preferred the solitude. But after what I saw on a Tuesday in October, I realized that being alone was actually the best-case scenario. The building was a sprawling 3-story labyrinth. My shift ran from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m., and for most of that time, I was the only soul in the building. The alarm system was state-of-the-art. Every door and window was censored. If so much as a bird hit a pane of glass, the panel in the main office would light up. Around 1 a.m., I was mopping the main artery of the first floor. The rhythmic slosh of the water was the only sound, until I heard it. Upstairs, second floor. It wasn't a creak or a settling floorboard. It was the sound of someone sprinting, hard, heavy footfalls echoing off the metal lockers. My first thought was that a student had stayed late and hidden in a locker, or maybe a coach had come back for a forgotten playbook. But I knew the protocol. I walked back to the security panel in the custodian's closet. I checked the total occupancy log. Occupancy 1. Just me. The footsteps stopped abruptly. Then a second later, a massive bang shook the ceiling. It sounded exactly like a locker being slammed with a sledgehammer. I grabbed my heavy-duty flashlight and headed for the stairs. When I reached the second floor, the air felt different, colder. The dim emergency lights cast long, distorted shadows across the linoleum. Everything was perfectly still. Every classroom door was locked tight. Then the running started again. This time, it was directly above me on the third floor. I didn't hesitate. I ran up the stairwell, hoping to catch whoever was messing with me. I burst onto the third floor landing and panned my light across the hall. Empty. But then, my beam hit the floor. My stomach dropped. Leading from the far end of the hall were wet footprints. Not from shoes. They were bare, human footprints, shimmering under my light. They looked fresh, like someone had just stepped out of a pool. I followed the trail with my eyes. They started at the far end, walked down the center of the hall, and stopped exactly 2 feet in front of where I was standing. The trail just ended in the middle of the floor, like someone had walked right up to my face and vanished. I stood there paralyzed, the hum of the ventilation system suddenly sounding like a low growl. And that's when I heard the wood of a door frame groan behind me. One of the classroom doors was creaking open, just a few inches. From the darkness of that room, a voice, flat, rasping, and far too close, whispered, "Why are you still here?" I didn't answer. I didn't lock up. I left my mop in the bucket, walked out the emergency exit, and never looked back.